I'm Terry Owens. Welcome to Conversations with TL, where everyday people share how they've overcome challenges to make their lives better, as well as the lives of other people. There really is something about the power of saying yes. When you're open to possibilities, the world can absolutely amaze you. My wife and I were returning from a business trip to Atlanta, and we were standing outside the hotel waiting for an Uber to catch an early morning flight. We got talking with a couple of ladies who were also headed to the airport, and it turned out we were on the same flight. So we agreed to share an Uber. One of the ladies owned a travel agency. The other lady was the CEO of a technology firm. Because we said yes to sharing an Uber, relationship developed. That travel agent would book our first trip to Europe earlier this year. And that tech CEO, well, she's our guest today on Conversations with TL. So, what's the moral of the story? Don't be afraid to share your story and be open to the possibilities. Also, listen as others share their stories. If you'd like help developing your story, shoot me an email at terry@owensmediagroup.net. That's terry@owensmediagroup.net. My team and I would love to help. So, what do you think of when you hear names like Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs or Elon Musk? Well, they're all tech innovators who disrupted industries to create massive change. Our guest today is creating a revolution of her own. When she launched Dope Nerds in 2020, she was the first Black woman and Black-owned company to have a virtual reality solutions provider in the United States. Let me bring Ursula Spencer onto the stage and say hello, everybody, to Ursula Spencer. Ursula, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about our chat today.
Well, so much of your story is unique, but I want to start with a vision. What is Dope Nerds?
Dope Nerds is an edutainment. We're a tech-forward edutainment company helping to revolutionize the way STEAM education and career training is delivered with a focus on youth and under-supported communities. We believe in high-quality education, VR everywhere for everyone, and we're really passionate about closing the learning gap and democratizing technology.
So you describe Dope Nerds really as a revolution more than just a tech company. What is this revolution you speak of?
It really, the foundation of it really stems from representation and wanting to establish a pipeline for aspiring techies, but wanting to also establish and be a part of the pipeline, almost like passing the baton to those within that same ecosystem to increase the representation in STEAM careers. And then, of course, IT, information technology, advanced technology, leading edge tech, so that we could bring the generations behind us into the future workplace.
And you are really passionate about serving underserved communities. Talk about why that's so important to you.
It's so important, well, because I not only grew up in being in unsupported, undersupported, I'll say, communities, but also I'm really passionate about it because when we see it, we believe it can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so part of our mission and one of the pillars of Dope Nerds is to help undersupported or underserved communities realize a more vibrant future, right? That there is more beyond what they may have already been dreaming about, and that it's accessible to them. So it's why we created a 100% portable or mobile solution that enables us to go into any venue, facilitate enrichment or edutainment, what we like to call dope nerds edutainment activities around different career options and career exploration in any venue and have no reliance on that venue's resources. So
Mm.
we have no reliance on the internet, no reliance on whether they have any bandwidth or digital tools. And that's because we bring the entire solution to that venue, to that educational institution, or it's supporting institutions like libraries and rec centers.
That's fantastic. Okay, so before we go any further, you've got to tell me about the name. How did you arrive at Dope Nerds?
Well, number one, we're dope.
Of
That's first
course.
of all. But really taking that term from back in the day. I'm from I'm born and raised Brooklyn girl. Even though Dope Nerds is now headquartered in Baltimore, and growing up hip hop, of course, dope always had this and has a positive connotation behind it, right? It means that you're awesome, you're fly, right? It's 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 a compliment. So I wanted to then take that word that we all use in some capacity and then marry it with not only who I am, but the people who I was around, coming up in IT in 3 decades of my career, and really wanting to associate the fact that nerds come in all shapes and sizes,
Mhm.
and that we all look different, right? And we can look different. I think growing up, the word nerd always had a
Negative
negativity kind of
connotation, yeah.
component to it, right? Like if you were called a nerd, you were an outsider, you were deemed corny, like it just you didn't want to be a part, even though it had obviously being a nerd means that you're super intelligent, brilliant, zone of genius in your own right. But growing up, obviously, we know that that had bullying behind it, right? All of
Mhm.
these negative things. So I wanted to marry the fact that no, we are nerds in our own right. And we all operate in a certain zone of genius, and they look like us. And they're women, they're, Black women, right? They're people of color. And so that is how I married the two names. Yeah, that's how I married the two names.
Yeah, good. Well, I love the backstory. For the longest, we didn't hear a lot about women in technology, and you, in a lot of ways, were self-taught, and it started very early in your life. Talk
Yeah.
about how you got into technology.
Oh, sure. So as a kid, I was always taking apart our family gaming consoles. So not to age myself, but the Ataris, the Segas, right?
Wait,
And
you're taking them apart.
taking them apart to see how they work. I was just always fascinated by that. And I was also a major tomboy. So I was always hanging around my dad, like, when he was fixing things around the house. And we lived in apartments. So we're always fixing stuff around the apartments. And I was just really fascinated with how things worked. And
Mhm.
so it got to a point where my mom was like, yeah, so you can't be taking apart the like the family like entertainment, right? And it's not that I would just take it apart and leave it. I would take it apart, and I believe we all have a higher power, whatever that means for you, talent, a divine talent. And so at the time, of course, at 11 years old, I didn't know that this was a divine talent of being able to take things apart, examine them, and be able to put them back together. And so my mom saw this energy, and she bought the computer for the family, a Commodore VIC-20.
Wow.
Yes, that far back. She bought it for the family, but I was the one that mainly took to it. And so at 11 years old, I dived right in. I taught myself how to hack. At age 18, I launched my career right out of high school. And then at 21, I launched my first tech company as an IT consultant to Fortune 100 and 500 conglomerates.
That's amazing. Say that again. Self-taught, launched your own business, and now you are setting the world on fire with virtual reality, which is the thing everywhere. So there's a lot going on. And one of the things that we'll get to some of the major news coming up, but I want you to share a little bit about how you bootstrap this operation, because it's one of the biggest challenges for entrepreneurs is finding resources to build these businesses. And you were able to do it. How did you do it?
Oh, wow. I'll try not to get emotional about this because the journey is no joke,
Mhm.
especially when you are bootstrapping. But we're resilient, and we, as a community, we live off of fortitude, and so um, sort of really grounding myself in that. I didn't it's very interesting, and I know this is going to sound kind of hokey, but my decision to leave a very lucrative tech career in corporate um, was a divine decision, and I would have never guessed that I would have had enough resources to not only live off of, but also to launch Dope Nerds and do research and development. I mean, I didn't just come up with the solution day one, right? It took trial and error, testing different, and virtual reality wasn't even my initial thought behind delivering the future in learning. So it was a lot of testing, and it was 2 years of that. And then I want to say late 2021 is when when I really arrived at how to get this done, or mid 2021. And it's all through my 401k, uh, which at this point, yeah, there needs to now I'm seeking funding because of the different opportunities that Dope Nerds has been presented with, like opening the very first virtual reality tech hub at the Baltimore Inner Harbor, which is a huge opportunity.
Oh, you're
Um,
getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me. No,
oh, I'm sorry. I'm
okay, all right,
sorry.
all right, all right.
Yeah. So
Let's go
that
ahead and go
so,
there.
so the bootstrapping was the 401k. That is how I've been able to bootstrap. But now, not to be completely transparent, but yeah, it's time to get investment.
It was an amazing opportunity. I heard about it a couple of weeks ago. You are a part of what is now the reimagining of downtown Baltimore, and you're right in the heart of it. Can you say more about this opportunity and how it came about?
Yeah, I have chills because it is truly a dream realized, and it, dare I say, fell into my lap. So along the lines of the bootstrapping conversation, I got to a point where, although in my mind and what I had planned out, like written out on tissue and paper, right? You know how as visionaries we pick up anything to kind of get these ideas out, and the initial idea was to have Dope Nerds opened in different cities across the nation. And so it was a huge dream when I started Dope Nerds and hit the ground running with that. Like, yeah, I'm going to open up a location in every major city, not understanding all the dynamics, right, behind that. So I had to pivot the model, and that's how I was able to come up with us being 100% mobile and portable, because opening up a brick and mortar, especially right after COVID, just wasn't a smart idea. And so, fast forward to September of this year, we were commissioned by the Baltimore Times to develop a custom VR experience for the Maryland Cycling Classic to honor Black cyclists. So, cyclists that we probably never even heard of, and one being from the 1800s. And so we developed this VR experience, and there was a whole pop up exhibition around it. And the owners of MCB Real Estate, which are the developers responsible for reimagining the Inner Harbor, they got into a Dope Nerds VR headset, got to experience the VR content, which was it's called Petals of Resilience: A Journey of Triumph. So it's very fitting. in relation to how this all unfolded. And the VP of the developer company came out of the Dope Nerds VR headset and said, "That was amazing. What do you think about opening a tech hub using your VR here at the Inner Harbor and programming?" And so that's how that unfolded. And it's one of those things, Terry, where no matter what situation you're in at that time, because it wasn't ideal, right? All of the numbers aren't matching, all of the staff isn't in place. I had to say yes, and I'll figure it out from there.
You make my point from the top of the show. It's with the power of yes. When you say yes, it's amazing how the university will create opportunity for you, and you walked right into it. And that's on top of the other good news, because I was following along and I saw something about this Catalyst Award, and I'm like, what's that? And oh wait, no, Ursula's a finalist for a Catalyst Award, and they're going to announce it soon. And voila. What is the Catalyst Award?
So Catalyst 2023 is an award by one of the awards, because there are different programs that use the term Catalyst. CTIA Wireless Foundation has a grant sort of competition, if you would. And it is, free and clear grant funds for your business to grow and scale. And the base or the foundation behind the grant is wireless for good. Because of the work that we're doing for youth and under-supported communities, but how we're leveraging wireless connectivity, 5G wireless, is because of that work is how we got selected. And then we ended up winning a $50,000 grant toward, for our youth to grow and scale Dope Nerds. And it's been a pivotal resource in advancing our mission. It's enabled us to scale up, even though small. $50,000, yes, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you are a leading edge technology company, it helps, but
I understand. Say
need
no
to add
more.
on to that, right? So truly a blessing. And it's like I said, it's been a pivotal resource. We've been able to enhance our tech capabilities, and more crucially, we've been able to broaden our impact. So not only has Dope Nerds been facilitating edutainment and career and workforce development workshops using virtual reality and AI in Baltimore, we've also been doing that work in Philadelphia as well. And we've recently been approached to expand into New York as well as Delaware.
Oh,
Yes.
that is so awesome. I
Thank
knew it
you.
was just a matter of time, and these kinds of opportunities only raise your profile, and with that come more opportunities. And it's now just managing the growth.
Yes,
That's the
that's
challenge
true.
as an entrepreneur. Talk about, you talked about bootstrapping and some of the challenges involved there, but there were lessons learned along the way. And what do you say to other entrepreneurs who are in the midst of their journey, having some struggle and wondering which way to go?
I love that. So I know when people see this, and hear it, the first thing that's probably going to come to mind is, well, why didn't she raise capital? Right? Why didn't I go the VC route? And I want to say that VC and doing fundraising in that way, all the different series, for equity, etc., is not for everyone. And it's not that there hasn't been interest in for investment for equity, but to be honest with you, you have to be self-aware, not only as a CEO and a founder of the baby that you're birthing, so to speak, but you also have to really know the landscape of where you are in your company and in your journey in building. My goal is to build an enterprise. I don't allow people to say how's your small business? No, you mean how's my growing enterprise?
Mhm.
Because, and it's not that there's necessarily this negative connotation, but I don't want to be boxed in that way.
Yeah.
So with that said, in wanting to and on the trajectory to grow an enterprise, I really had to be honest about where we were when we were approached for investment. And I didn't feel like at that time, Dope Nerds was foundationally ready to for investment or to, so give you an example. And I hope this example is helpful to your audience. And that is, let's say there's 100K on the table, and I'm just honestly throwing out random numbers, and it's at an it's at a moment when you really need that money, but then you realize there are like all of these structural components for of your business that's really not in place. So
Mhm.
not only do you have this pressure of, growing and building your company and just turning a profit, but now you have to worry about VCs being on your back about making them 10 times the money when you're just trying to make your mortgage. So at the time that we were approached, that was a scenario where we were offered, in the six figures for equity. And to be honest, it was at a time where if I did not was not steadfast and did not follow my intuition and had a hustle mindset versus abundance, I would have taken that deal and we might have been, and
Mhm.
I'm inclined to say we would have actually been in a worse situation because of the journey that I realize now that needed to happen for the proper way to grow and scale.
Mhm.
So
I'm reminded of one of our favorite sayings around here: freedom ain't free.
it's not
And
free.
everything that looks like it might be a great opportunity, sometimes you really want to do your due diligence, and you
Yes.
listen to that inner voice. That sometimes is where we need to go for insight, as opposed to listening to others. We've got just a couple minutes here, and I want to give you a chance to. Is there anything else in the pipeline that we need to be listening for? I'm super excited about Delaware and New York. That's way too cool. But is there anything else coming down that we should know about, or anything that we can do to help support you?
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. This is really a great chat and conversation, just around the journey, right, of chasing and going after your dreams. Um, so there's tons happening at Dope Nerds. The primary thing that we're focused on are partnerships. We're looking to partner with national youth organizations that either have a STEAM curriculum, or they're wanting to enhance or bring an additional value prop to their after school, their summer camps, programs, and they want to infuse some leading edge technology like VR, like AI. So we're focused on that as one of the paths.
Mhm.
Obviously, the opening of the virtual reality edutainment tech hub down at the Inner Harbor. Crossing fingers that we get the necessary funding that's necessary to we can't be called dope nerds and the place not be dope, right? So with that, there's, you can imagine there's capital that's required in order for that to, really thrive. So we're focused on that, as well as we still do our portable activations. So we actually have a holiday activation coming up
Oh,
for a community in Baltimore, and where we'll be doing, and it's always edutainment. So there's always this, you know, you're always the kids are always going to learn something while enjoying the content. So almost like a gamification of educational topics. So we have activations coming up, and I've also been invited by Politico. Um,
oh.
yes, I've also been invited by Politico for their women, I believe it's Women Rock event, and I'm a panelist for that event, and that's happening December 12th. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so yeah, there's tons of things happening, but definitely you can learn more on dopenerds.tech. IamAdopenerd.org, which is our nonprofit and our impact. So that's the focus on schools, libraries, and rec centers in any city across the nation. And then VR for K-12. .com, which is focused on our middle school and high school students. So you get to learn more about the different programming that we have there.
Well, Ursula, I really appreciate you making some time for us today. This has been a wonderful conversation. I knew it would be, and
Thank
I
you.
am super excited for all that you're doing. I wish you continued success. And if there's anything that we can do here at Conversations with TO to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you so much, Terry. Thank you for having us.
Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Conversations with TL. As I like to say at the end of every show, continue to strive and find a way to enjoy the journey. I'm Terry Owens for Conversations with TL. We'll see you next time.